under the umbrella of conservative, Republican, and Christian. We stand a good chance of taking over this board this fall. It is very opportunistic. And with that, will be the governor and the governor's position that can really help us spring back at a rapid pace from some of the negatives and some of the stuff that the liberals and the globalists have put on us over the last decade or two. And I'm anxious for the opportunity for Spotsylvania to take over that school board with people like us, and then work with people like this to strengthen education in Virginia, and again, at a lightning speed, reversing course with some of the issues. So that's what's going on here, and thank you for coming out, and thank you for being concerned and caring and even voting for your low-level, some people call it school board members, but it's just as important as being governor.
Absolutely.
Keep that in mind.
Thank you so much, Kirk. Always a great patriot. Tom Speciale with Chasing Freedom is running a little bit late. He will be coming up here, and I don't think he's here yet, so we'll go ahead and get him when he comes on in. Our next person is Amy Sudbeck, who is with Back the Badge, and will be asking a question, and fantastic. Come on up.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome. I'm really happy to be here, and thanks, Nick, for putting this together. I know I'm a new face in the room. My name is Amy Sudbeck, and I am president of Back the First Responders Foundation. We are a 501c3 organization right here in Fredericksburg, Spotsylvania area, and we envision a fully equipped first responder capability. And we want to accomplish this vision through our mission of ethical fundraising. We want to be able to provide grants to first responders in need across Virginia and eventually across America. We operate with very strict core values, which is community and compassion. We work with an air of sensitivity, understanding that different jurisdictions have different needs. We also operate through stewardship. With responsible fiscal oversight, we want to provide as many grants as possible with as little operating cost as possible. And most importantly, equality. Regardless of where you live, your ethnicity, your religious beliefs, your income, your educational background, and your profession, you deserve a fully equipped first responders capability. So to learn more about that, you can visit www.backthefirstresponders.org. We are a 501c3 organization, and we're brand new. So for my question, oh, never mind. No question right now, sorry. Thank you.
Fantastic. As a volunteer firefighter in UT, I super appreciate Amy for what she does, and when she serves the community by keeping me in check. It's fantastic. Our last person is Mike Dickinson, who's running for the 68th. Mike and I have done many things. Just like a community ball, got a bunch of things together on the front line.
All right, well, good evening. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mike Dickinson. I'm running for House of Delegates in the 68th, which is down in Richmond and Chesterfield. I'm running because I'm tired of this war on police that the Democrats have waged for the last 2.5 years. I'm running because I'm tired of my city of Richmond, your city of Fredericksburg too, and Charlottesville being attacked by criminals and the police not being allowed to respond and put a stop to it at the direction of Democrats because they sympathize with the people out there committing crime. I'm tired of Governor Northam and these Democrats that are in the General Assembly doing everything they can to tie the hands of law enforcement and tie the hands of we the people to defend ourselves. So I'm sick of it. That's why I'm running. The 3 issues I'm running on. 1, law and order. Police. We have to have law and order in police. The Democrats don't like to say that. The Democrats don't want to say that. The Democrats want to make it into a question of social justice, but it has nothing to do with social justice. It has everything to do with the belief in law and order. X equals Y. If you do one thing, you get punished. That's what it comes down to. It has nothing to do with social justice. Yet that is the line that the Democrats try to put out there. Second, we have to double down and believe in our constitutional rights. Our Second Amendment right to defend ourselves. Our First Amendment right to say our opinion. We have to double down our Second Amendment right to defend ourselves, and our First Amendment right to say what we want to say, and not have people come after us at our jobs, not have people come after us in society and try to ban us from this and cancel us out. We have every right to say what we want to say in America. The First Amendment. Third, we have to get our businesses open. We have to get our schools open. We have to stop this illogical war that the Democrats have on small business and schooling. And we have to get it so that kids can get back in school. This whole generation is going to end. I'll end. My name's Mike Dickinson. I'm running in the 68. Before I end, I just want to say, you guys have a great leader here in Nick Ignacio. He's a great leader. He's a great leader. And I know he can advocate for himself up here, so I'll advocate for him for just a few seconds. He is somebody that's motivated to make a change, motivated to fight for you, motivated to fight for our rights. So, you do a good job. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, real quick, Philip Hamilton, also running for delegate. Come on, or he's already right here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Philip Andrew Hamilton, and I'm a relative of George Mason IV, and I am here today to fight for all of Virginia. In the 57th House District, I am the first Republican to run in 16 years. Be fired up. We're taking the fight to them this year. This is the year we take back the House, the Senate, and the rest of the state offices. Let's get excited, folks. The COVID-19 lockdowns, unconstitutional, completely unconstitutional. Let's get rid of all of them. The curfews, unconstitutional. We should not be telling businesses when to operate. I'm sick and tired of seeing this happening in our state. This must come to an end. I am also sick and tired of all of the rhetoric that's been going around about taking down our historical statues. Why are we focusing on destruction? I've created a group called All Historical Statues Matter because all historical statues do matter. We have to focus on preserving our national heritage while building upon it. We need to focus on building statues dedicated towards minorities and all Americans. We need to end the division and focus on preserving, protection, and creation. That is the Republican Party of the future. Also, thank you. Also, a little bit more about me. I'm 33 years old. I'm one of 7 children. My father actually immigrated here from Iran, so I'm a second generation, half Persian. When he moved here, he was working in a steel factory. Then he worked at the Severe Weather Center in Norman, Oklahoma. And then after that, he worked in NASA as an electrical engineer inspecting components of the space shuttle and the International Space Station. My father worked hard, moved his way up, and raised 7 children. We need to preserve an America where you can continue to raise your children. Vote for me and support the rest of the GOP candidates in 2021. Thank you.
All right, you guys can sit down. You can sit down whenever you want. I'm really sorry, my God. Really sorry. And right on cue, Tom Speciale, right coming in. Look, do you see that? It's amazing. It was part of the plan. Philip was stalling. There we go, Tom. Good friend of mine. Fantastic.
Hello, everybody. Yes, I did literally just walk in the door. Just on time. This is where I'm going to introduce Chase real quick. Okay. Is that what you want me to do? Okay. So you should all know me by now, or at least I hope you do. I'm Tom Speciale. After last year's Senate race, I started working on a thing called Chasing Freedom Virginia, and thinking about how, somebody said it best yesterday, how can we get the gatekeepers out of the way of grassroots candidates that are trying to save our Commonwealth. Somebody just last night said that to me about the gatekeepers, the political elites that keep real grassroots patriots from being able to get in and fix what's broken. And that's what Chasing Freedom Virginia is. If you look at what we believe, you're going to find it's very similar to the Republican Creed, but we've added a few things. Things like all life is precious and should be protected. Things like history, our history must be preserved. Government transparency, things that we think are lacking. So what Chasing Freedom Virginia is, it's a nonpartisan organization. We're reaching out to Democrats and Republicans to try and get them to tell us what their values really are. We're going to vet candidates. We're going to then rate candidates. Then we're going to endorse candidates prior to, in this case, a convention. All the things that, in a lot of people's minds, the parties should be doing, helping us get informed. Like, for example, raise your hand right now if you know how to become a delegate. Raise your hand. Okay? We're looking at what? 15%? The parties do that on purpose. They do that on purpose. They don't want you other 85% to have a say in who the nominee's going to be. So Chasing Freedom Virginia is going to start putting all that information out and in one place so that every single person in this room can be a delegate. And yes, you're going to have to drive to Lynchburg, you're going to have to take a day off, and you're going to have to go and fight for your liberty. Chasing Freedom Virginia is going to put that information out. And don't believe the hype. If you sign up to be a delegate for a candidate, I love all you guys. If you sign up to be a delegate, you are not bound to that delegate, to that, thank you, to that candidate. Any candidate can say they're going to sign you up, but you are not bound to them. My time's up. So please go to our website, chasingfreedomvirginia.com. You'll see our beliefs, you'll see our goals, you'll see our mission statement. We're going to be holding forums next month in March. We're going to do debates in April. We're going to publish all of the information. We're not holding anything back. And then we're going to make an endorsement on May 1st, prior to the convention. And we're going to tell you why we're making that endorsement. So, chasingfreedomvirginia.com. We're trying to get the gatekeepers out of the way. So please help us do that. I would like every single person in the room to become a member. And we can save the Commonwealth, but we're going to have to put together a coalition of coalitions. Pro-life, 2A, education, healthcare. We're going to have to put it all together. And Chasing Freedom Virginia is trying to do that. But I cannot do that, we cannot do that without your help. So please sign up, join Chasing Freedom Virginia, and we are going to save the Commonwealth. That's a fact.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, Tom. Before we begin, just a couple quick things. All the candidates were invited. Kirk Cox could not make it. Our organization is nonpartisan, just so that you all know. We will invite anyone. In case anyone is wondering who I am, who's walked in late, my name is Nick Ignacio. I have the privilege of serving you all as the Regional Tea Party Chairman. There are a number of the candidates have tables outside. Please check out their literature, sign up, volunteer, donate. I also have a table out there. This isn't about me, but I am running in a local race, doing much, much better than I could possibly even thought. Fantastic. It's really you guys. You guys really helped out. So we're going to go ahead and begin our first with phase one. We're going to start with Pete, and we're going to go right down the line. So it's right down the line. You guys get 5 minutes, whatever you want to talk about. Here you go, Pete.
Thank you so much, Nick. Fellow Patriots, I am fired up to be here today. And we're in a church on a Sunday afternoon, so let's talk some truth, right? Let's talk some truth. Tell you what, if you like the way things are run in Richmond right now, and you think the career politicians, the folks in charge, are taking care of you and listening to you, I am absolutely not your candidate. But if you think that we need an outsider and a proven conservative who's going to have a backbone of steel to shape that city to its core, guess what? I'm your guy. For For those of you who don't know me, I'm Pete Snyder. I'm an innovator, a job creator. I've been called a disruptor. But I'm also someone who's going to fight hard for you. When I was 26 years old, I started my first company out of a rental apartment. And it was a company that became the first social media marketing company in the country, if not the world. We not only built a company, but we helped pioneer an industry that today employs millions of people around the globe. And after I did that, I did what I do best, which I started another company and another company. And today I run Disruptor Capital. If you all have ever seen Shark Tank, that's what I get to do for a living. I get to work with entrepreneurs and help them pursue their dreams and make those dreams into reality. And I'll tell you, I think entrepreneurship is wired into our blood in Virginia. It is. After all, didn't we start the greatest startup in the history of the world? A little place called the United States of America, right? And that was started by the Virginia Company. Remember that? The Virginia Company. So folks, Virginia is used to leading, and we've led for a long, long time. But if we're talking truth, we haven't led for a long time. And in fact, over the past decade, I'd argue our leaders have failed us. They have, haven't they? Not only have they failed us, they've embarrassed us. I mean, think about it. Governor after governor. How long has Virginia had to be the butt of late-night jokes or have the antics of our governors on the front page of a tabloid newspaper or magazine? It is wrong, and it's embarrassing. But you know what? Worse than that embarrassment, we faced the single worst crisis that Virginia has seen in over 100 years. And our leaders and our governor did next to nothing to help us out. Next to nothing. I mean, look at it. Early on in this crisis, when people didn't know anything, could you get tested in Virginia? We're bottom of the barrel. To the fact that these shutdowns and mandatory executive orders have destroyed the lives of tens of thousands of small business men and women all across the Commonwealth. To the fact that at least until 3 days ago, we were 50th out of 50 states when it came to the administration of this vaccine for those who want it? That's hard to do. And to the fact that we're nearly a year into this pandemic, and over 80% of our schools across the Commonwealth are closed. They're closed because we have politicians that are too weak to stand up to the teachers' unions that are locking out our children and locking out our teachers. It is wrong. We are losing a generation of children, and we're putting families in an impossible situation. So folks, I'm running for governor to pull us out of this mess and get us leading for the future. And in a crisis, you got to keep the main thing the main thing. You might hear from a lot of candidates with a lot of promises, but I'm sorry, the fundamentals of government fell down last year, and we are going to fix them. First and foremost, we are going to open our schools now. 5 days a week, every week, with a teacher in every classroom. None of this babysitting garbage that they're proposing. Secondly, we are going to save the backbone of our economy and the heartbeat of our communities in small business. We are going to open our economy on day one. My wife, the person who's here with me today, and a handful of friends that are in the room, pooled together to start a nonprofit, the Virginia 30-Day Fund, which has helped save nearly 1,000 small businesses all across the Commonwealth, and many right here in Fredericksburg. We are going to save small business in Virginia and get our economy going. And last, but by no means least, folks, haven't our civil liberties and constitutional rights taken a beating last year? And think about it. Under the guise of a pandemic, our government stripped us of our rights of freedom, our Second Amendment rights, our First Amendment rights of free speech. As the next conservative governor of Virginia, I am going to stand up for you. We're going to restore your rights and get Virginia leading again. I look forward to your questions. I'm psyched to be here, and I can't wait to be your nominee and win in November. Thanks so much.
Fantastic, thank you.
afternoon. Thank you all for coming here and investing your Sunday afternoon here with us in what will be the most important year in Virginia's future and our country's future. My name's Glenn Youngkin. I'm a homegrown Virginian. I'm a conservative outsider. I'm a man of faith. I'm a successful business leader, and I am a Republican who can win. Just this last summer, in July, I asked my lovely wife, Suzanne, of 27 years, to go on a walk and pray with me. And I said to her, Suzanne, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to get ready to run for governor. And she looked at me and she said, Glenn, are you having a midlife crisis? And I said, no, I'm having a Virginia crisis. Our Commonwealth is not at a crossroads. Our Commonwealth is in the ditch. And the Democrats keep pouring more and more dirt on it. And we have a choice. Are we going to sit on the sidelines and complain? Or are we going to get up and do something about it? Well, folks, I got up out of my chair. I quit my job. Here I am running for governor. And I will do something about it. When I'm your governor, I will stand up for our constitutional rights like none other. Virginians wrote the Declaration of Independence. Virginians wrote the Constitution. Without Virginians who stood up and said, we will not ratify that Constitution without a Bill of Rights, we would not have a Bill of Rights. I will stand up for our First Amendment rights. I will stand up for our ability to express ourselves freely, not be canceled. I will stand up for our ability to gather here in this church when massage parlors and ABC stores were open. I will stand up for our Second Amendment and our right to keep and bear arms. I will stand up for the unborn, because if it's not us, then who will? When I'm your governor, we will build a rip-roaring economy like we have never seen. I am more qualified than anybody to do this. More jobs than Virginians can take. What President Trump taught us is when we have a rip-roaring economy, it lifts up everyone. Everyone it lifts up. Opportunity for all. When I'm your governor, we will have a real go at getting our cost of living down, because, boy, it has outpaced our economic growth. And it's been led by tax increases and fee increases. And I was the first one on this stage to sign the Taxpayer Protection Act, because if it looks, smells, or sounds like a tax increase, I will veto it. When I'm your governor, we will reestablish the integrity of our election process. So I established our Election Integrity Task Force 2 weeks ago. We know this is not a Democrat issue. This is not a Republican issue. They keep calling it our issue. This is a democracy issue. And if we do not get on this now, folks, we will not ever have faith in the process or the outcomes of our election. And as your governor, I will restore that faith. When I'm your governor, I will open our schools 5 days a week, and I will make sure that we never have this travesty happen again. When I'm your governor, I will make sure that a child's zip code will not define his or her destiny. We must move forward with charter schools and school choice so that all Virginians can actually choose where they want their children to go to school, what they want them to learn, and whether they're going to actually invite the Father Almighty into their daily education. When I'm your governor, I will stand up for those who stand up for us. Our law enforcement heroes who have been defunded, demoralized. It is not right. It is a matter of leadership. We must stand up for those who stand up for us. And finally, when I'm your governor, we will look back on this day and you will say, Glenn, you can win, because we must win in November. We must win in November. We must come together like Republicans never have before. We must win the governor's race with me at the top of the ticket. We will win the lieutenant governor's race, the attorney general's race. We will have 6 more delegates in our House of Delegates, and we will take back that House of Delegates. Let's do it. And in 2022, we will do something amazing, because I will campaign and knock on doors and raise money, and we will take back at least 2 seats in our House of Representatives, and we will take back, along with 4 other seats from the other 49 seats,
our House of Representatives, and we will absolutely put a stop to the craziness coming out of Washington. Ladies and gentlemen, we will look back and say what happened in Virginia, and we will say, no, Virginia is not blue. No, Virginia is not safely blue, because Republicans came together on the 28th of February right here and said no more. We're going to come together and change the direction of Virginia, change the direction of our country. And as your governor, I will work with you like no governor ever has, and we will make Virginia the best place in America to live and work and raise a family, because that's what you deserve. Ladies and gentlemen, join me, Glenn Youngkin, in the race to win in November, because I can win. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. Let me first start this off. God is good all the time.
Amen.
Once again, I repeat that God is good all the time.
Amen.
See, before I came up here, I had a nice suit spread out, and it looked good. And I was watching a show at midnight, and I spoke to him. I said, I'm going to dress down. Because, see, some of y'all in here, y'all are tired of losing. Y'all tired of being called racist. Y'all tired of people kicking us while we are down. You're tired of Marxists running the streets without somebody to confront them. See, I'm not about what I'm going to do after I become governor. I'm here about what I'm going to do right now. See, I'm one of the few who have stood up against Marxist right-of-the-leaf statue. Kurt Santini also. He was right there also at the statue talking to the Marxists directly and letting them know where we stand. See, it's not about how you look. See, somebody was telling me, hey, you have a Nissan, you have a bummy car. This is what came up yesterday. I said, that car used to be my mother who died. She used to work hard just like anybody else. This is a part of me grieving. That's how I deal with it. I'm human, just like anybody else. And I also remember exactly my mother was there for me to make sure I'm here today. That's why I'm pro-life. See, I speak from the heart and I speak from the soul. So I saw some wingtips. I keep my wingtips and my boots. These boots have been all over Virginia. And with my boots, I try to make sure people know that I could choose to be corporate, I could choose to be in a suit and smile at you, and we could still lose. Or I could continue to be an American, I could continue to work hard, I can continue to keep moving forward and not let anything hold us back, because the Republican Party doesn't stand down for nobody. We don't go around them, we run straight through them. But let me say this and let me make sure it's very clear. I'm pro-business, I'm pro-gun, I'm a stand your ground type of person, I'm a castle doctrine type of person, I'm a state recognized gun type of person, I'm a second chance for restoration of gun rights through an administrative process and not through a judicial process. I'm here to make sure hardworking Americans that look like you, wear sneakers, wear wingtips, wear whatever you want to be, because America isn't about what you look like, it's about when are you ready to fight back. See, being a conservative, some people say they Republican, but see, they only Republican when they need a vote. They Republican whenever they need to be on your side of the issue, and then you see them on the other side of the issue.
Rhinos.
Straight rhinos, you said it correctly. And they always get up there talking about, hey, I need a fundraiser here. See, the point is, y'all want somebody that's real, that has been through what you've been through. who is trying to give a future to your kids and to our grandkids, because it ain't about whether you're black, it ain't about whether you're white, Puerto Rican, or not. We are all Americans, and that's how we get the message to the other side to say exactly, we're tired of you lying to the community. We are tired of keeping your community poor. I look like the definition right now of what America looks like under Northam right now. That's exactly why I'm up here right now. We are broke down here in Virginia. We are wearing holy holes in our jeans right now because we can't afford to have food on the table the next day. We are all right now living in a prison and nobody even went before a judge. Come on. But the thing about it is God is good all the time. Amen. We're going to have a red wave. We are going to take back Virginia. Because one thing to do, what we do here in this church right now, because I'm on the stage for history. And we need to make sure people are reminded while we fight for history. It doesn't matter whether you was a Confederate Union. It doesn't matter if you was in the Civil Rights Movement. It doesn't matter if you was out there in Iraq. We all know the definition of how to fight back. It's time to take Richmond back away from those kids and put the parents and the adults back home in Richmond taking over. It's not going to be easy, people. It's not. There's nothing easy in this world. We've got to work hard for it. You got to be ready to die for it. You got to have that fire in the belly to say that the Republican Party is not dead. The Republican Party is not pathetic or weak. It's alive and well. And that's exactly what we need going on and going forward right now. Because some people ain't ready for this type of thing. You need a governor with street and book smarts, because we've seen so many people talk about if I was governor. How about you fight right now? My name is Merle Brothers. I am the 2021 candidate for governor of Virginia, called the New Republican Attitude. And I'm looking at all my brothers and sisters. I want everybody on those cameras to look at it. These are my brothers and sisters right here. This is my cousin right here. This is my grandfather right here. This is my father right here. That is my son right there. Because we are in this together. God bless America.
Thank you, Merle. Fantastic. I had a great interview with Merle, and my pleasure to introduce Amanda Chase.
All right, good afternoon. How many of you are ready for a new governor here in Virginia? No, I didn't hear you. How many of you are ready for a new governor here in Virginia? Me too, and let me tell you something. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. My wonderful husband is in the back in his Amanda Chase for Governor shirt. This is my high school sweetheart who has been with me through thick and through thin. And listen, running for office is not easy. And I want to thank each of you for joining this fight for liberty, because we need everybody on deck. And I want to thank my husband for being here today. He has been through this journey with me. As I was getting this call to run for Senate the first time, I will never forget what it was like to be discounted and told I would not ever have a chance to be considered a real candidate for governor, and I showed them. Because I won. Good for you. That's right. I had the least amount of money, the least amount of endorsements, and the people said, you know what, we want a mom of four. We want a small business owner who cares. And they elected me to Virginia's 11th senatorial district. And they just re-elected me this past year, because I have a history and a record of getting things done. Now, you may have heard about me. I've been called many things. I've been called Trump in heels. I have been called, yes, and I wear my red Trump in heels shoes, by the way. I have been called a maverick. I've been called the Annie Oakley of the Senate, because yes, I carry, and yes, I'm caring today, because I am a staunch defender of the Second Amendment. Woo! The Second Amendment is the foundation of every other freedom. that we as Americans enjoy, and without it, we can't defend the rest of the amendments. I have a 100% rating with the Virginia Citizens Defense League. I have an A rating with the NRA. And I am the only candidate that actually has a record, including my other counterpart who's not here today. I have a lifetime score of not compromising on the Second Amendment, and that is really, really important. Really, really important. But most importantly, I carry, in fact, I'm carrying here today, and I have a plan A and a plan B, and by the way, I don't miss. In case you're wondering, I sleep with an AR-15 under my bed, and I know somebody's going to ask me this. What are you carrying today? P365, 6 hour. Okay. Now that we have that out of the way, let's talk about something here. What in the world happened on January 2020? You see, what happened was we have a Democrat-led Senate, Democratic-led House, and a Democratic governor. We have the tyrannical trifecta. And we went from being Virginia to California almost overnight. And I sat there on the front row of the Senate. And I just tell you, I've never been so angry in my life. As I watched bill after bill after bill passed, destroying our liberties, one at a time. I told you I'm a mom of 4. My husband and I have 4 kids, 18, 21, 22, and soon to be 25. Yes, we look very young for our age. We have a lot at stake here. People kept calling me and they were saying, Amanda, what are you going to do about it? And I said, I don't think you understand. We don't have the votes to keep this from passing. When they passed universal background checks, when they passed red flag laws, we didn't have the votes. Do you know how frustrating that is? That's why on President's Day, February 17th, 2020, yes, over a year ago, I announced that I was going to run for governor. Because everybody kept saying, I'm moving out of Virginia. And I was like, wait, stop. We got to fight. You can't just pack up and leave. What's wrong with you? We need to stand up and fight. Stand up and fight. And that's why I announced on President's Day. The same bill that we defeated, House Bill 961, Mark Levine's bill. And by the way, I negotiated behind the scenes with Mark Levine to go from a felony down to a misdemeanor, or otherwise all of us gun owners would have been felons to this day. Friends, I have the Virginia Tea Party scored me the highest of any other legislator in the entire General Assembly because of my voting record. 100% rating with the Family Foundation, 100% pro-life. And I was on CNN this morning. I hope you saw me take on the liberals. I know how to handle liberals. I have them for lunch. I'm Amanda Chase. Go to my website, chaseforva.com. We together will make Virginia great again. God bless you, everybody.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And I hope some of you all saw my interview with Amanda Chase. Just fantastic. Here you go, sir.
Thank you very much, Nick. Thank all of you for being here today. I want to thank you for this opportunity. I want to thank my wife of 29 years, homeschool mom of 5. Got 3 of my kids here with me. It's really a privilege. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I want to tell you why I'm running for governor. I'm running for governor because I want to protect the American dream. The American dream began here. Virginia is the cradle of the American experiment that has produced the greatest good and opportunity for the world in the history of humanity. Bar none. It began here. It's the birthplace of the American dream that I've lived. The uniqueness of that American dream and what I've lived is that it's not unique. All of you have someone or have lived that American dream. Am I correct? This is what we are about. We are about protecting that American dream. Just a little bit about myself. I was born in Mexico, lived in a house with dirt floors, no running water, no electricity. Came to the States legally with my mom and my brothers. Started picking cotton when I was 10, had 20 different jobs before I joined the Army, where I served for 30 years and I retired as a colonel. In 2016, while others stood on the sidelines, I joined the Trump campaign to win over the Hispanic vote. And guess what? We won. And we won by the largest margin that we've had in a while. President Trump won 29% of the Hispanic vote in 2016, and he won even more in 2020. So what we need is someone who understands what Mr. Trump was all about. President Trump was about not confusing effort with results. It's about getting things done. And that's what I will do for you. After we had success with the election, I got a cryptic call, and President Trump selected me to be part of the transition team at the Pentagon. There was 9 of us that started out. And then a few months later, he tapped me to be the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Western Hemisphere Affairs. What that means is that I drove defense policy for the United States for this half the globe. And when I was done in October, we had the best alignment with our partners in the history of the United States. We had gotten everybody online with the way that the United States thinks. And all these people that thought that Donald Trump was a little different, they were right, because he could get things done. Am I right? Donald Trump got you the best economy that we've ever had. Minority unemployment, down. The economy, way up. By the way, if you look around now, think about what the price of gas is today. What has happened to the price of gas since President Trump left? Guess what else? The Green New Deal, it's here already. It's because we have a General Assembly and a governor that's driving our prices through the roof. Am I correct? We are now at a point where our energy bills are going to go sky high. Guess what? Take a look at California. Remember the forest fires? Remember what happened to the electricity there? It went down. What happened in Texas? I come from New Mexico. I grew up in New Mexico. And guess what? That has also taken a big hit. During the election, I mentioned to my New Mexican brothers and sisters, watch out what you're voting for, because it's going to come back to haunt you. And guess what? Right now, they don't have enough revenues to be able to run the state. Why? Because of the energy policies that have been put in place by our current government. So, why am I running? I am the candidate that can win in Northern Virginia. Why? Because I can reach the immigrant communities. I can reach the Hispanic communities. I can reach the Asian communities. I know what it's like to start with nothing. I know what it's like to talk to a foreman that's telling you how to pick cotton. I can talk to a welder that's telling you how to do the welds correctly. I can tell you about how you put a pipe into the ground to do exploration. I can tell you about what it's like to operate heavy equipment. I can also tell you what it's like to talk to presidents, ministers of defense, and so forth. So I ask you to look at what type of candidates we're going to have. Take a look at what we need to get. We've got to win Northern Virginia, but I can win in the West, I can win in the South, I can win in the East, because I am you. I know what it's like to work with my hands. I know what it's like to deal with people at all levels. I ask for your vote. I want to be your governor.
Thank you, sir. And last we have Kurt, and I have run into Kurt on the front lines, so that's a big deal. I know many candidates go on the front lines, but when the bottles are flying, that's when you're having fun. Right?
How many of y'all have heard of me in here? Raise your hand. Very, very few of you. Why? because I'm the most censored candidate running for governor right now. My first campaign page was deleted off of Facebook in December. My second one was deleted in January. My third one is now shadow banned. I cannot share content. I cannot add myself to groups. I can't even send friends requests.
What's your name?
My name is Kurt Santini. I am a husband, a father, a former firefighter, a former special operations soldier, a ditch digger, a construction worker. I can frame a house. I can roof a house. I am of, by, and for the people. I've never ran for politics. I certainly don't have my money to buy my way into politics. I'm a regular person. I'm not a career politician. Do you love America?
Yes, sir.
Yeah? Do you love the Constitution?
Yes, sir.
Do you love Virginia?
Yes, sir.
Then why don't we change the game? Why don't we stop playing the same merry-go-round carnival? One governor gets off, the next governor gets on, changes everything the previous governor did. Why don't we get some term limits going? Why don't we end our legislators' qualified immunity so we hold them to the same laws and standards that you and I are held to?
Amen.
Why don't we revise the Virginia Constitution and put in repercussions for oath of office? Make it easier for you, the people, to remove them from office when they violate that oath. Why? Because we keep electing the same kind of people. We keep going for the rich business person. We keep going for the career politician. Nothing's going to change if we keep electing the same kind of people. Thanks, sir. Now, I've experienced life all over this country. I've been as poor can be. I've worked a day at labor ready for an honest wage. I've been homeless. And I've experienced the American dream. I built myself back up. I bought a house. I raised a family. Christian morals. Republican values. But I'm not a party player. Because the party keeps letting us down. I don't want to play the game, the political game that we have been doing over and over for decades. I want to change it because I am of, by, and for the people. Multicultural, black grandfather, yeah. By marriage, but my biracial aunt is by blood. Half Latino grandkids. Grandkids, yes, I am that old. My youngest son is in his second semester at Randolph College down in Lynchburg. You want to talk about somebody that can win the vote in Northern Virginia? You need somebody that can reach the people that are coming from other parts of the country to move to Northern Virginia. They're not Virginians up there. They're coming from California, from Washington State, from Florida. They have a different culture, a different understanding of what they should and shouldn't be like in their own life. But they all want freedom. And let me tell you, it does not matter if you are a Republican, a Democrat, an independent. You want term limits. You distrust the party. You distrust the political system. That is the kind of candidate that is going to win the state of Virginia. The kind that is going to run on a bipartisan platform that is going to bring all of Virginians to vote for them. I want schools open just like the rest of these candidates. My wife's a teacher. Believe me, I want schools open. She spends too much time at home. I've been married for 20 years, faithful for 20 years. I love my wife, I love my kids. Look, we all know of all the different problems that we're having in our government. And it's not our government, it's the people we we have elected to run our government. It's not the system that is broke. It is the people that is abusing that system. Now, we can keep electing the same kind of person, or we can elect somebody that has integrity, that has morals, that has values. Like me, Kurt Santini. I'm not rich. I don't have the money to put out 5,000 signs between here and the highway. Don't have it. But I do have the money to drive 3.5 hours across the state to come speak to you. I do have the time and the ability to speak with you and work towards actual solutions. Like our First Amendment being violated, our Second Amendment being violated. How many people here believe that every Second Amendment law is in violation of the Constitution? Every single one. That's not to say we don't want some of those laws. But we need to revise the Constitution in order to put them in so we're not infringing on our rights. So we're not setting a precedent to say it is okay to break part of this Constitution when we agree to it. You need to revise the Constitution. How many people believe our Fourth Amendment is being violated? You get pulled over, put in handcuffs, your vehicle is searched, no oath affidavit, no warrant, nothing. That's a big problem that our black communities are having, our low-income communities are having. There's a solution to that, but nobody's talking about the solutions. Because every time we elect a career politician, every time we elect the same kind of person, what we get is somebody going after the symptoms. Gun violence. Who believes in gun violence? Not a single hand. Good, me neither. I'm out of time. Thank you, Kurt Santini.
All right, fantastic. We're going to start an interview that Kurt's page was censored. So, mark of doing a good job. So, before we do phase 2, I'd like to offer the candidates a chance if they need to use the restroom, get some water, what have you. And in the interim, I'm going to go ahead and bring Puneet up, who's running for Lieutenant Governor. We will be doing the Lieutenant Governor Forum soon. I had a great interview with Puneet. Fantastic, strong candidate. So come on up in 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, folks. My name is Puneet, and it's Puneet for LG.com. Folks, we need to get 95 fixed. One of these people have to become governors. But more than that, we need our state fixed. We need our state back. And folks, that's the reason why I'm running for office. I've been here in the country for 30 years, and 20 years as an active soldier of the Republican Party. I chose to become a citizen soldier. You know why? Because they were infringing on our rights. I love this country. I'm a proud American. But more importantly, I'm a proud immigrant who loves this country, who's come here, worked hard, lived the American dream, and just like our founding fathers who took a little break from their work, their daily jobs, to fight for freedom, to get this country back, that's what I'm doing. And these are what all these folks are doing. Thank you. But it is about the American entrepreneurship. It's a dream which is at stake today. And when we have lost for the last 12 years races, you know, when I joined the party 20 years ago, they talked about drawing the line in Fairfax, but we've lost the last 12 years because we've not reached out to those communities. And my goal is to get into those communities. And I sent out an email earlier this week, or last week, that how to get to those 275,000 votes. I can do it. I know how to talk to those first generation immigrants. I know what it is important to stand on those Second Amendment values, those conservative values, opening the schools and getting our country and state and small businesses back. And the reason why they stop going after our small businesses, what they do, the Democrats, they want to break the middle class of this country. This is how they do in socialism, because I've seen it. When they break the middle class, what it is the 0.2% control, the 99.8%. That's what is happening, guys. I've seen it. And when they came after our guns last year, I wrote an article in Washington Times and I said I'm going to have my voice heard. You know why? It's harder to oppress minorities when they're armed. a small business guy. My wife and I have worked hard. We raised 3 kids, 2 dogs. They're our kids. Spoiled. But this is our home. You know, I could have said somebody else is going to run for office, but no, I chose upon myself to do this. Because folks, we need to have somebody who's an outsider. And I'm glad in this room we have some outsiders who are basically taking the time out. We have some fantastic slate. And I will be the best number 2 to these folks to fulfill the vision which they have for our great state. I'll go out and get into those communities who we never get into or never reached out to. Be it South Asians, Hispanics, African Americans, all minorities, even Ethiopian African Americans who have never been approached by our party. They failed us. But we will not fail, we will win. You know why? Because if you watch my back and support me, guys, we can win this race. I promise you. And my name is Puneet for LG, and what I'm asking for is a grassroots campaign. Give me 1 day of your lunch money. That's all I need. If 1 million people or even 100,000 people give me 1 day of your lunch money, we win this race. Thank you for your opportunity.
Thank you, Benny. All right, so we're going to go into phase 2. So just a couple quick things. These questions come from the FVP. The candidates do not know the questions. In the past, we have had candidates ask if they could see the questions. No candidates have asked this time.
It's true. Can I see the questions?
How much money you got? The way this is going to work is now we're going to go in reverse order. So it's going to start with Kurt and end with Pete. And so whoever starts gets their questions. We get 2 minutes. Everyone gets 1 minute follow-up. Sounds complicated. It's not. We've done it plenty of times. So the first question is going to be a Second Amendment question, because I'm a Second Amendment guy. The news calls me a gun rights activist, which I don't think is fair, but I'll take it. Our first question person is someone I look forward to serving with on the Board of Supervisors, Tim McLaughlin.
Hey, one thing, before I even ask this question, one thing I just wanted to point out, Kurt Twigg brought up about school boards, about the lower ballot races. They are as important as the governor's race. And it was touched on here about, we got to take back the House, the Senate, we got to win the school board seats. Those are as important as this governor's race because the schools are killing our kids. Right? That's where they're getting these Marxist ideas from. So we got to fix that. Sorry for that little off topic a little bit. Of course, this question near and dear to my heart. I am a retired Marine. Sorry, Colonel.
Right?
One of the things that I want to point out too, and this is a good question for me too, because I currently buy all of the small arms ammunition for the Marine Corps. So I know where the bullets are. Don't worry. So no samples. All right. So first question: how will you protect Virginians' Second Amendment rights better than your opponents?
Thank you for the question. So, what's the best way to protect the Second Amendment rights in Virginia, period? Get rid of the unconstitutional laws and get rid of the people that are violating the Constitution. You do that through term limits. You get rid of every career corrupt politician and you bring in new people who are not indoctrinated by that career corrupt politician. Telling them this is how you vote, this is how you don't vote, this is what you say, this is what you don't say, and if you don't do it my way, you're not getting reelected. That's how. You use the Constitution. It is there for a reason. We're just not using it. We keep electing people that are saying, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to fight and I'm not going to let them and this ain't going to happen. But they're not using the Constitution. They're allowing the unconstitutional laws that are already there to stay there. You have to get rid of those laws. And that's as simply as saying it's unconstitutional and wiping it out. But nobody has the courage to do that. Because they're afraid of their political career. They're afraid of being attacked. And let me tell you, I'm an Army Ranger. I ain't afraid of nothing.
Thank you so much. Okay, let's turn to Henry. And so you have 1 minute. Everyone now has 1 minute.
Thank you. The Second Amendment is one of the basic fundamental rights of our country. It is, why is it the Second Amendment? Because it is a check on tyranny. It's already established that we have a Second Amendment. Why we allow counties and other entities within the Commonwealth to define that Second Amendment is ridiculous. We have that right. So what we need to do is live up to that right. And the reason we have it is, not only is it a check on tyranny, but as Kurt can tell you, and anybody who's been in the military, the right to self-defense is never denied. When we forego that right, we will be under tyranny. We cannot let that happen, and we just need to stick to the Constitution. We don't need to come up with creative solutions through Commonwealth laws that change things. Stick to the Constitution.
Thank you so much. Senator Six.
To answer the question, as Virginia's next governor, I will set a Guinness Book of World Records for the number of executive orders filed by any governor in Virginia to take us back to the Constitution. All of these laws that the Democrats have passed violate the Constitution. I will take us back to the Constitution, and then I will limit my powers. I actually sponsored a bill that said after 30 days, the governor should never have an unlimited emergency order in place. Precedent was set by Governor Terry McAuliffe with Executive Order 50 when he banned guns from state buildings. And then you look at what Governor Northam has done. They have violated the Constitution. This is what a strong, firebrand Republican will do. I will not wait 2 years to take back the Senate. I'm not going to wait. The Democrats did it to us. I'm doing it back to them. What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Amen, sister. Yeah.
Firebrand Republicans roll in Virginia. Thank you.
I guess Biden's gonna be mad at me after this response. First off, I plan on pardoning any gun owner who violates Northam's gun control laws. You don't have to worry about that with me. Gun control is dead on arrival. I'm a council doctrine type person, and also I plan on having a self-defense review board. Since the politicians got qualified immunity, it's about time we give the people qualified immunity and shop on this qualified immunity. So what happens is, if you get charged and you have self-defense as your claim, gun owners and self-defense experts will decide on whether it goes to a grand jury. And if the grand jury wants to go ahead and play apples to oranges with liberal prosecutors, guaranteed I'm going to be your insurance plan. That pardon's going to be there, and I'll just tell people, your gun is your business. God bless you.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a gun owner, and I'm not apologetic for it. My family actually, we own guns, we like to hunt, we like to shoot, but most importantly, we keep them in our house to protect ourselves. We have the right to keep and bear arms, and as your governor, I will defend it staunchly. But is it any surprise that the Democrat lineup in Richmond today has wasted no time to try to violate our constitutional rights and take our guns away from us? Is there any surprise? Anybody here surprised by that? I'm not. The thing I can do as governor that nobody else can do is I will win. We must win. The way we put a stop to this is we win the lieutenant governor spot. We win the attorney general spot. Under the leadership of the top of the ticket that can win for Virginians. We have to win this. We have to win at the city council level. We have to win at the school boards level. We have to win across Virginia. But ladies and gentlemen, we must win the governor's office so that when bills come up like the ones that are just making their way through this unforgivable, unconscionable House of Representatives and House of Delegates that we have right now, I will veto them. Ladies and gentlemen, I can win.
Folks, we're in a church, and our Bill of Rights, just like the Bible, it's non-negotiable. You can't take parts of Scripture, you got to take the whole thing. You have to take every single one of our amendments. And as your governor, I will stand up for our Second Amendment. But what differentiates me from this crowd, good men and women? I'm going to win. I'm going to win this nomination. I'm going to win in November. Why? Because we're simply right on the issues. We're leading the charge to open up our schools and open them up now. And the Democrats, what do they like to do? They want to take your guns so that we have safe schools, but they don't even want to open up the schools. It's insane. It is absolutely insane, and you're going to have a governor who is going to fight and restore your Second Amendment rights. Folks, if there was ever a poster child on why we have a Second Amendment in America, in Virginia, and why it is sacred, it was last year when we had a mob running our capital city for the better part of 4 to 6 weeks. And my wife and I, my wife Burson's here with me, we had a personal experience. We own a share in a small business on Broad Street. Broad Street right now is covered in plywood because of the businesses that were destroyed. And on the second night of riots, 1 o'clock in the morning, we had 2 bricks go through our storefront window, and 4 woke kids piled through the glass to rob and loot nearly every single piece of merchandise in our store. And guess what? What was left over was covered in blood. And there wasn't a single police officer to be seen, and it wasn't their fault. Because LeVar Stoney, the former bag man for Terry McAuliffe, who he installed as mayor of Richmond, told them to stand down. And that will never happen when I'm governor of Virginia. I will stand up for your rights, I will restore your rights, and we will have our Second Amendment forever.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much. Second Amendment, always a big deal with me. So again, I had a great interview with Mike Cherry. I got to ask him some great questions, and I'm going to have him come up here and ask our candidates a question about the economy. And so this time, De La Pena, you get 2 minutes, and then you start, and it goes to 1 minute and ends with Kurt.
Why are you the best candidate to bring back Virginia's economy?
Well, thank you very much. That's an excellent question. This country is based on the market model. The market model is based on low regulation, low taxes. It works. It's been tried all over the world, and you've seen successes. If you want to look at countries that succeeded and followed the U.S. model, just look around. Japan was destroyed after World War II. Guess what? We installed the free market model, and we're Japan now. You look at countries throughout this hemisphere, same thing. You look at places like Chile that had socialist governments, and they used our market model, and what happened? It started working. You look at places like Colombia and even Mexico. Those countries that follow the U.S. economic model succeed. And it's not just the economy piece of it, it's about rule of law, and it's about having regulations, and it's about making sure you comply with them. And so what we need is lower taxes, less regulations, and let the free economy and the creativity of people like those here that we've seen that have started businesses, let them thrive, let them succeed. And it's only in the U.S. that you can have that, but you can only have through rule of law. What we're seeing right now in Richmond is a socialist model. This has become the place where you try out bad ideas. Look at what's happening to our Commonwealth. We are now the place where you learn how to stifle the First Amendment. You're abusing the Second Amendment. You're abusing this Green New Deal that we've just implemented here. Guess what that's going to do to the economy? When you start centralizing everything like you've done in the Commonwealth, you're going to have a poor economy. And who's going to suffer the most? Those are the most underserved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Chase.
Well, to begin with, I have a degree in business from Virginia Tech. I double majored in corporate finance and business management. I worked in both the private sector and the public sector for S&P 500 companies from financial institutions, including the Federal Reserve Bank in Richmond. Many of you have heard of Capital One. I was with them when they were Signet Bank Card. I understand money. I understand how it works. That's why I introduced legislation that passed and was signed into law it's called the Red Tape Regulatory Reform Act. So for every regulation that tries to get promulgated, they have to pull 2. That's already in passed. I got it signed under a Democratic governor. That's number 1. Yes, of course, I also agree with you. I actually signed the taxpayers pledge when I ran as a state senator, and I have consistently, every single time, I've never voted for a tax increase, ever. I just voted against the budget. I can't remember a time I did vote for the budget because it's bloated, full of tax increases in it, but I have voted against every tax increase, every fee increase, every regulation that strangles our small businesses, and as small business owners ourselves, we understand the importance of not allowing the government to pick winners and losers. I voted against all that money that went to Amazon in Northern Virginia. I support small businesses, and I'm done with these economic development authorities doling out taxpayer money.
Hopefully we don't have Larry, Curly, and Moe of the Democratic Party destroy the rest of the businesses. The first thing we need to do is stop this minimum wage increase that's killing the rest of small businesses. One of my biggest plans is to make sure that there's at least a 15% tax cut for all businesses across the board. A 0% tax cut, meaning no taxes for small business startups. This way we can start bringing the economy roaring back, bringing hemp in all its glory to the farmers so they could go ahead and start exporting more hemp. And also at the same time, this adds to about 11,000 plus jobs, plus more businesses and more. I want uranium mining back. I want to make sure we have the casinos and everything else that helps our businesses grow. This way, businesses start saying to themselves, we have more to invest, and we can start bringing in jobs as well as growing our businesses. And also ending the red tape of making sure that people who want to do business inside their homes can't do it without the government all up in their business. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've had a 30-year business career. My first job was actually minimum wage, taking out trash and washing dishes. I know the dignity of work. I started at a small firm, and it grew to be a big firm, and I worked my way up, and that firm, when I left to run for governor, was managing $230 billion. That's 4 times the annual state budget. I can lead and run a complicated organization, but the challenges we have right now are multifaceted. The governor has absolutely shut our small business unnecessarily. We must get it open. They have piled on from the McAuliffe administration to the Northam administration. We cannot afford a 3rd term of the McAuliffe-Northam administration. They have piled on regulations and taxes that have driven out of business small businesses and driven away large ones. Advance Auto Parts leaves Roanoke and goes to Raleigh, North Carolina. Norfolk Southern leaves Norfolk and moves to Atlanta. Norfolk Southern, ladies and gentlemen. We have forgotten what it means to actually be open for business, and as your governor, I know better than anybody on this stage how to be open for business. And Virginia will be the best place to live and work and raise a family. I cannot wait to be your governor, to reestablish more opportunity and more jobs for everyone in Virginia. Folks, I can win. I can reestablish the business culture in Virginia like we have never seen before. Thank you very much.
Folks, I'm a big believer that there are different leaders for different times. That happens in sports, that happens in business, that happens in government. And there is no one more equipped right now with the real world experience and ingenuity and proven record to turn our economy around and get our economy open than I am. I am a serial entrepreneur. I haven't had things handed to me. I had to create businesses and industries out of whole cloth from nothing. And during this past year, my wife and I, and so many of our friends, many that are here today, helped start a nonprofit, the Virginia 30-Day Fund, that has helped save 1,000 small businesses all across Virginia, but 2,600 across America. We have raised $46 million for small business, and we're a zero overhead operation. Every single nickel of that goes to those in need. And that proves to you and shows that when Virginians get together and have a good idea, and they go for it, and they take it to the economy and help others, we can lead the entire nation. What we did led the entire nation. No one's done more for small business. I will repair our economy and get Virginia leading once again.
I will take your advice, your advice, your advice, your advice, and your advice. They're all right. All of them. There's a lot that needs to be done in regards to our economy. But who's more qualified to reopen your business than you? He gonna come to your business and tell you how to run it? No. Now, we definitely need to deregulate, without a doubt. We need to make the playing field a little bit more equal for that new business owner coming in, without a doubt. But none of that is going to get done so long as we have those career politicians fighting every one of us every step of the way, creating laws behind our backs that don't allow us to do what we need to do. Unconstitutional laws, by the way. That's how we're going to do it. That's how all of this gets done. Every question that comes through here today. It all boils down to, are you going to get rid of those career corrupt politicians? Because if you don't do that, you're not helping anybody. Nothing they do is going to change. You're talking about the Ferris wheel. One governor gets off, the next governor gets on. Whatever they do this term will be changed next term. You have to change the game, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
All right, thank you, candidates. Our next question has to do with education. And real quick, I like to mention something. I have a child in the public school system. He's 15. And I just like to tell everyone real quick, when he was 13, I went for custody of him in court without an attorney. And his mother had an attorney. And I recall the attorney telling me, "You're not an attorney, who do you think you are?" I said, "I'm Nick Ignacio," and I won. A good friend, Kurt, school board.
Thank you. Our curriculum has been deteriorating for a number of decades around the country, and particularly here in Virginia. We have programs pushed by the Virginia Department of Education year after year. We have unfunded mandates pushed at us year after year. And my thought, concern, and question is restructure needs to be at the title, part of the title of your plan to perform major fixes on education in Virginia. So give us a minute's worth of plan and concept, and make it such that we'll all agree with you. Thank you.
That's 2 minutes, starting with Senator Chase.
So I've had the experience of sitting on Senate Health and Education for 4 years. I'm also a mom who has homeschooled for 8 years. That's where these wrinkles came from. We've had our kids in public Christian education, and our kids have been in public school. We have done all three. Your level of education should not ever be determined by your zip code. I believe we need to make all options the best they can be, but let's be honest. We need to completely overhaul our education system to get rid of the indoctrination that we see going on in our public schools, colleges, and universities. We need to follow the money. The money should follow the child. And I'm going to set up an 800 number. Y'all, I've run call centers before. And if you have indoctrination going on in your school, I want students and parents to call this number, and it's going to go to my desk in the governor's office, and we are going to start defunding these liberal colleges and universities that think that they can push their liberal agenda on our kids. I am completely done. And that's something that I've gone on the record for. We don't need just reform. We need a complete overhaul of our education system. We need to get back to teaching real history, which I have defended publicly on the floor of the Senate. that we need to teach reading, writing, and arithmetic. We need to stop their social engineering that's going on in our schools. Let's talk about a real education so that our kids can truly be educated. And I would also put God back in our public schools.
Excellent.
That's right, I would. Our kids are looking for direction and leadership, and we need to provide that to them. We need to give more choices to parents. We should stop having this cookie cutter education that we have forced our kids to. And as a mom of 3 boys, I know what it means that all kids are different, and we need the education to fit the child and not the other way around. And that's what I'll do as Virginia's next governor. Thank you.
Well, I'm all for school choice, but also no man belongs in our little girl's bathroom at all, period. That's not going to happen. We're going to fight that 100%. Yes, our schools need to be tougher. Now, we have a miseducation of our youth right now. That's what caused those riots. You know, the discipline, the parents being missing. They need to be involved with the teachers more often. We need to have our schools to be college ready now. They get all their information through Google. And we need to tell teachers, stop passing kids that are failing. Start passing kids because they passed. We are not going to be able to have a better future if we give our kids everything instead of making sure that they earn everything. That's how we was brought up the last time I checked. Yes, I believe that you should have school choice. You should be able to know which school that you want to. But make sure that you don't have a pedophile class and we don't have a gun safety class. Thank you.
What we all know is people's capacity to reach the American dream is facilitated through education. And our educational process in Virginia is turned upside down. First, our schools are closed. We have to get them back open. But we also have to provide the opportunity for parents to make the same choice that many people have made during this pandemic to go to private schools or homeschool, but not every Virginia family can make that choice. We must introduce school vouchers into our school system. We must... As your governor, I'm going to break the lie. The lie that the left has told our children that they must incur $60,000 to $80,000 of debt in order to go get a 4-year degree, because that's the only way you can actually have a real career. That is such a lie, ladies and gentlemen. And through training programs and community colleges and credentialing programs, people can get spectacular careers. My wife and I started a nonprofit that actually has 2,500 Virginians finding those careers. Finally, we must take back our school boards. We must stand up and have people run for our school boards who can win. We must back them. Are we surprised that Dr. Seuss is being pushed out of Loudoun County schools today? No. Because that school board does not represent us. We must stand up and take back our school boards, ladies and gentlemen, and as your governor, that's what I will lead. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a really simple plan for education. It's called Open Our Schools Now. 5 days a week, every week, with a teacher in every classroom. None of the babysitting stuff that they're trying to do. Look, folks, the left broke the system. They did. They broke K through 12, and they broke higher ed. Right now, William & Mary and University of Virginia and James Madison are charging full freight prices, but offering less than a University of Phoenix experience. It is wrong, and it is nearly criminal, and we are going to change it. We are going to have sweeping education reform because I'm bringing a posse with me. It's called a conservative majority, and we are going to get back control of our education system. And yes, culturally, we're to blame. Republicans, we are. Over the past 30 years, we have given the school systems to the liberals. We don't participate in school board elections. People get really fired up about a governor's race or a presidential race, but we are not attacking the way we should be. Our budgets, low water mark in Virginia, 48% of a county budget goes to schools. High water mark, 68%. That's a lot of change that we're letting the liberals take over. We have a generation of children that we need to save, and we'll do it together, and I'll lead as your next governor.
So my wife's a teacher. She works in a Title I school. I don't know if you know what that means, but that is a low-income school. That means the heat don't work half the time, the air conditioner don't work half the time, there's condensation dripping from the ceiling. Why is that? Because they live in a low-income community. So what do we need to do? We need to even out that tax so that it evens out to the schools, so that the schools, our public schools, are even, right? And then yes, you let the money follow the child. If he leaves the public school system and goes to another one, the money goes with him. You pay it out quarterly. That way, if that child leaves in September, in October, that next school is going to get that money. Now you don't have poor schools and you don't have rich schools. You have education centers teaching all of our kids regardless of their parents' income. Right? Now that is real reform. That is real change that will do real, honest goodness for our children. Our higher education is really screwed up. We need to get rid of these subsidies that they're offering.
Thank you. As your governor, what we got to do is we got to stop the indoctrination. That's going to be the first step that you're going to have in getting back our schools. Indoctrination at the elementary level, at the high school level, at the university level. And as governor, you can change the boards at the universities. That's the first thing you got to do. You got to start there. You've got to be able to get the best value for what you're paying. You've got to have choice. I'm a fan of homeschooling. My wife has been the master in homeschooling, and the product is right here. We need to have that choice for everybody. We need to make sure that you have the ability to get that money that is offered to you to educate your children so that you have that school choice. And we've got to make sure that we do not have this indoctrination that you constantly see where history no longer makes any sense. There's a reason that the United States is what it is, and I've just cited it for you. This is the cradle of the American experiment. We are now being told that that experiment is false. We cannot let that be. That's something that we've got to change, and it starts with our education process because we are the leaders. We have to innovate. We have to look at what the new economy is all about. We've got a lot of new technology. We've got to make sure that we are keeping up with the way that we train the future, because the work that you're going to be in, 60% to 80% of those jobs, we don't even know what they are. And we've got to be flexible enough to be able to adjust to that. Thank you.
Fantastic candidates. So our next question is going to come from Tom Speciale. Walking all the way up there. That's okay. Tom's a great guy, chasing freedom. I'm going through the process of, if I'm lucky enough to get that endorsement, we fought on the front lines with Antifa, BLM, and all that kind of good stuff.
As I'm sitting out there, or standing out there, I'm listening to what I think is a lot of the conservative language that we all love to hear, right? They're clearly conservatives. They all clearly love the Constitution, our country. But each one of them has a special ingredient, I think. And that's really what I want to ask about. I think each of you has a special ingredient that will help you to be victorious in November. So, because that's really what this is all about. Winning the nomination is just kind of step zero, phase zero. You have to be able to win in November. And each of you has a special ingredient. So it's really a two-part question. What do you think is that special ingredient that you bring to the fight as a candidate? And secondly, if you are not the nominee, will you use that special ingredient that you have, your strength, and apply that with the same vigor to help the nominee win in November. Because we need everybody in the fight. So what is your special ingredient that you bring? And will you unabashedly apply that ingredient to help the nominee, whoever that may be, win in November?
All right, and actually, we're going to start with Merle.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, just making sure. I got the confused look when I started doubting myself. 2 minutes, sir.
I want to answer the second question first. One, I will never, ever run as an independent. I'm going to run as a Republican before, during, after, supporting a Republican, and I'll stay consistent to doing something. See, we forgot about the dinner table. That's the difference between me and everybody else. People are starving. People are worried about what's going on in their lives right now, the gas prices being up. All the Democratic lies where they've been told they're going to get $2,000 if they got some Georgia senators in office. And now you're starting to see COVID go away. Somebody has to be able to get to these new voters. We can't win this with the Republican Party alone. And we can't keep blaming the state chair or the SEC or anything like that. We got to be able to go across the street and talk to our neighbors. We have to be able to go to the bus stops and tell them this is why the Republican Party and the Conservative Party is trying to save what is left of America. That's shocking. Save what's left. And the thing is, we are doing this for our kids and our grandkids. And we gotta start making sure people understand. See, it's one thing to be insulting people and talking a bunch of trash. Anybody could do that. I can see that with online trolls. Isn't that right, Amanda? Right? We all got online trolls. But we gotta be thick in our skin, some backbone, spine. We was taught, if you try to run in the house and avoid getting jumped, you see your mom slamming that door, and say, you get back out there. If you lose, you find each and every one of them, one by one, and stomp them out. That's exactly what we need to start doing now, but in a different way. We need to start finding them one by one and start saying exactly, we are proud to be Republican. We no longer fear to tell you we are Republican, and we're going to continue to fight for America.
I want to follow Merle's lead and start with the second question. I think we must come together as Republicans. We must come together as conservatives. And we must win in November. That's what we must do. The job of the nomination process is to pick the candidate that can win, that represents our shared values and can win, and I am that candidate. I am that candidate because I am the only true outsider up here. I've never run for office before. I've never sought the lieutenant governor's office. I've never sought the governor's office because I don't bring any baggage. I've never made backroom deals. I've never voted for legislation that I'm embarrassed by. I can bring the resources across Virginia and across this country to do something that no Republican has ever done, which is run a campaign over the last 11 years that breaks the 11 years we've had in the desert. I keep saying 29 more will be like Moses. Ladies and gentlemen, we must win. We need an outsider to win. We need a conservative to win. We need a man of faith to win. We need someone who can serve and lead. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that I'm that person, and I can be your next governor. Thank you.
So the question is, what's your special? Well, you know what? My special is that we're focused on the issues that actually matter. The entire fundamentals of government broke down over the past year. We have a constitutional obligation to teach our children. Our schools are closed. Our government, not the coronavirus. The coronavirus kills people and puts them in the hospital, but it did not kill our economy. Our government did that. That was a self-inflicted wound. So what is my special? We are leading the charge on opening up our schools all across Virginia. We put $750,000 of television ads putting pressure on school board members to open up our schools, and it is starting to work. We are going to be able to talk to independents and lean Democrats, people who haven't given Republicans the time of day in the past 10 years. And guess what? They're going to be single issue voters this year because they want their kids back in the classroom. So we are right on the issues. What else about me? You all know me. I am a proven conservative. I've been in our conservative movement for over 25 years. No one has given more time and treasure to helping to advance the cause of conservatism in Virginia than I have and than my wife Burson has. Plain and simple. And lastly, y'all know I'm a team player. You know what? Hey, if I'm not the guy, we are going to win this nomination and win in November, but you know what? Every single person on here knows that I'm a team player and knows that I will bleed to make sure that we win. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm looking to you for you to donate to my campaign after I win the nomination. Team player now, right? Yes, sir. I hope you do that. I'm with this guy here as well. I'm not a career politician, never worked, never volunteered, never even signed up for the Republican committee in my area, right? Never done it. But I will support whoever the nominee is, and I will put that special something behind it. And that special something is my ability to communicate with Virginians. Not because you're a Republican, not because you're a Democrat, but Virginians. The bipartisan platform of term limits is not a Republican or Democrat issue. It is a Virginian issue. It is an American issue. That's why I'm going to win. That's what's going to unite us. That's what's going to get rid of all the division that we have. You're black, you're white, you're Republican, you're Democrat. How about we just start being American?
I agree with Kurt. You got to be an American first. I'm an American. But that said, the demographics in Virginia are changing. We keep sending the same type of candidate and we keep losing. You need somebody that can reach out to those communities that have just recently arrived, that are immigrants, that are here legally, that are legal voters, and you need to be able to get them into the family. And I can tell you, Puneet knows what I'm talking about. I can tell you what it's like to experience from the bottom up, starting with nothing, going all the way to the top. I too am not a politician. I am a concerned citizen, and I'm a concerned citizen because I've seen what it looked like when other countries follow other models that do not work, and we're doing that in Virginia right now. The birthplace of bad ideas, unfortunately, right now is what's happening instead of the birthplace of the American experiment. We need to change it. We need to reach out to some of those communities that want to follow our models because family is key. Having safe neighborhoods is key. And having meaningful work is key. And that's what Americans want, and that's what I can give you as governor. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Schultz. So my special sauce is that I'm a leader with a backbone. I'm not given to peer pressure. It's either right or it's wrong. Now, I will fully seek the Republican nomination, fully, as a Republican. And what I will also tell you is I will make sure that whatever nomination is picked, which right now is convention, I understand, having run so many campaigns for other people running for statewide office, other people who've run for Congress, I know the ins and outs and all the tricks and the shenanigans, which is why I filed a lawsuit against the Republican Party of Virginia. They were heading us off a cliff to only allowing 72 people on a GOP committee to pick our nominee, and that is not acceptable. And that is the only reason I chose. And that is the only reason I'm collecting signatures to get a name on a ballot, because I don't want that to happen. And friends, they have still not given us a form. I know that a call must be issued. I know there must be an actual delegate form for you to fill out to actually be a delegate, and we do not have that form, and I will continue to speak about this each and every day. I will use my outspoken voice. I will use my backbone to say it is not okay to not know our nominating process. And I, Amanda Chase, will be that vocal voice to make sure the voice of we, the people, is included in this nomination process.
Yes, you do. Very good. So our next question is going to be about public safety officers. A lot of you all know that I serve as a volunteer firefighter EMT. Lost over 100 pounds, put 30 on with COVID, but a lot of you guys know the person I used to be, and I can just really quickly, I just want to tell you, it is not easy being a public safety officer. Within my first month, I saw something, and immediately I went, oh, yeah, Nick Ignacio, as I knew it, he's gone. Not easy. So to be one, it's tough. And so we're going to go ahead and get Amy Sudbeck up here to ask a question for public safety officers and advocacy.
So our law enforcement and first responders work is hard, and it's thankless, and it's selfless, and it's low pay. Do we have any active or retired first responders in the room? Can you stand up? Thank them. Okay, so my question, how are you going to further prevent local jurisdictions from defunding our police further? And how are you going to support our first responders?
Thank you. And as you pointed out, Youngkin, you are first. 2 minutes.
I was so excited to answer this question, I knew it before it was asked. There is nothing more important right now than for us to make sure that those who stand up for us know that we stand up for them. I'm going to say that again. Those that stand up for us must know we stand up for them. What's happened over the course of the last 3 years since we actually lost our majority in the House of Delegates is there has been this wholesale shift. And it is not right. What happened over the course of the last year is we actually saw lawlessness overtake lawfulness. And we saw our governor actually tell our law enforcement officers to stand down. As your governor, I will lead. Not cower. Lead. Our law enforcement personnel, our heroes who are first responders must know that their governor has their back. As I said earlier, they have been defunded, they have been demoralized. My friend Sheriff Stolley, who runs the largest jail in Virginia, he cannot fill his academy today. He's just lowered the entry age to the academy to 18 because he cannot recruit brave men and women to join the police service because they've been demoralized. We watch bills make their way through this ridiculous legislature in Richmond that want to strip the protection of our law enforcement officers so that you can pursue them with civil liability when all they're doing is upholding their oath. There are bills that are actually trying to reduce an assault on a police officer from a felony to a misdemeanor. As your governor, I will veto those bills immediately and smile when I send them back. I am an outsider. I am not encumbered by having ever even discussed these topics because they are silly to discuss. Ladies and gentlemen, we must provide the resources, but we must provide the leadership. The leadership to make sure that those who stand up for us always know that we will stand up for them. Thank you very much.
As the next conservative governor of Virginia, tell you what, not only will our brave men and women in blue and our law enforcement officials be fully funded. They will have all of the training, all of the equipment, and the salaries, and most importantly, the respect that they so greatly deserve from us. That's what they're going to get from me as the next conservative governor of Virginia. I was in Southwest Virginia the other day, sitting down with one of the most respected sheriffs in the Commonwealth. And he said, Pete, if you take one thing away from me today, take this. The silence is deafening. I said, well, what do you mean, Sheriff? He said, with our schools closed, I no longer have my first responders. The teacher that notices the bruise on the arm, or the black eye on the 5-year-old girl, or the fact that someone's having horrible things happen to them at home, we don't hear about it anymore. We don't see it. We need to get our schools back open, so I have my first line of defense. So folks, I'm going to fight hard to make sure our schools are open and that our police are fully funded. And there's a reason why I have all of Donald J. Trump's leading law enforcement officials backing me. The head of ICE, Tony Pham, endorsed me. Mark Morgan, who lives right around here, the head of Customs, the largest police force in America, has endorsed me, and our former Attorney General, Ken Cuccinelli, are all on board because they know Governor Snyder will be a law and order governor and give them the respect and funding that they so greatly deserve. Thank you.
Having been a first responder, I've heard a lot of these speeches before and nothing ever changed. We still have to go through our hoses, cut them, retape them, get them ready to go back out on the truck. We had to repair our own extrication equipment. We had to do boot drives so we could buy tires for our brush truck. I have a family that's members of the Virginia State Police. Right now, they're out riding in that car, risking their lives. My grandfather retired from the California penal system. He was a security officer there. My father also retired from it. My best friend was the deputy chief at the fire department that I served at. I understand what they're missing. It's not just equipment. It's not just better pay. They need more boots on the ground. And a lot of these people out here, they want more boots on the ground. They understand that 20 years ago you had one officer with a 4-block beat. Now that one officer has a 6-mile radius. We've gained in people, and we've not added the staff to cover the people. That's why there's the disconnect between our police and our community. We need more people. We need to start rebuilding that rapport with the community. We need better equipment for our first responders and our firefighters. I've been there. I understand what they need. Thank you.
You cannot have prosperity without security. And first of all, I just have to remind everybody, yes, I will support whoever wins. You cannot have security without prosperity. You cannot have prosperity without security. We have to support the police. We have to fully fund the police. We have to make sure that when somebody breaks the law, there's one standard. If you break the law, you go to jail, or you meet the law, you face the law. This business that we saw in Portsmouth was a shameful display of our inability to enforce the law equally. We had Terry McAuliffe talking about how he supported the people that were tearing down statues and did not support the police chief who was fired. That cannot happen. That demoralizes a community. There's no way that we're going to be able to be a commonwealth of rule of law when we're not following the rule of law. We need to fully support those people that protect us. We also need to make sure that those emergency services are available. Thank you.
So first of all, I'm actually a member of the Chesterfield County Fraternal Order of Police, and I have for over 5 years now, I've actually carried the legislation for our law enforcement. Our daughter actually served as an EMT, and she's now a practicing PA in Martinsville. Friends, the biggest problem we have is funding. We don't need to defund our police. We need to fully fund our police. We need to correct the wage compression issues that we have. The reason that we're seeing a shortage of police officers for the Virginia State Police, the Department of Corrections, who always gets left out. Our sheriffs, who could, many of them qualify for WIC. It's a complete embarrassment what we are paying our first responders in our law enforcement. And one of the things that I've committed to doing is putting our first responders first in our budget. First. I will also tell you that I will be a law and order governor. I will only sign bills that increase, listen, most of the legislation that passes in the Assembly, they went after law-abiding citizens. We need to be going after the criminals, not the law-abiding citizens.
Thank you.
Right now, I'm the only candidate who has stopped the riot of Danville 2018, locked up murderers, rapists, pedophiles, and I did it side by side with the police. And the same police was telling me, even detectives was making $38,000 a year to look at dead bodies, murders, do the hardest of the hard of crime. I said, that's unacceptable. I said, first responders in the military and all who work in law enforcement, the same happens to you while you are on duty. You will get tax-free home and house, and car that is transferred down to your spouse. So this way you know Virginia has your back. All starting salaries should be at $45,000 for any starting police officer from local, state, or from the Department of Corrections, and $50,000 for those who have worked at least 2 years. And I have the tax revenue to do it. So thank you for your time, and
Okay, we're going to go on to our last question in phase 2, and I'm going to, it's appropriate that Mike Dickinson, who is a member of FVP, asked this question. Now, in case you don't know, Mike Dickinson are literally out there on the front lines. We've been on, from Fox News to Al Jazeera, everything in between. I mean, seriously, Al Jazeera was at my house 2 weeks ago doing a story. I mean, we're out there, and so, it's tough, but definitely a frontline fighter. So, our last question, phase 2.
All right, well, I would also say, if you ever thought about joining an organization, this organization is one that fights and that organizes. I'm a member of a lot of organizations, but this one, the Fredericksburg, Virginia Patriots, this is the place to be, because they don't just talk, they do things. And that's what we need now more than ever in the state of Virginia and America, but we need to actually do things and not just talk. So here's my question for everybody. Why should the Fredericksburg, Virginia Patriots choose you to endorse over your opponents?
Thanks, Mike. It's easy. Who is a proven conservative who has fought in our movement for over the past 25 years? And I gotta tell you, I've created new industries and new businesses and participated in our conservative movement. You actually can do both if you care. So if you want someone who is a fighter, who knows the issues that matter to folks, which is opening up our schools, saving small business in our economy, no one's done more than we have to help repair the backbone of our economy and the heartbeat of our community in small business. And lastly, you will have a fighter in me who will restore the rights of law-abiding citizens for a change. None of this in the middle of a pandemic and the riots going on in Richmond last year. Our governor called back a special session to restore the rights of criminals. It's wrong. We are going to restore your Second Amendment rights, your First Amendment rights, and we are going to win this nomination, win in November, and I'm bringing that conservative majority along with me, and a Republican lieutenant governor and Republican Attorney General, and we are going to take Washington head on. Virginia is going to lead our nation again.
I signed that blank check, put my life on the line to serve my country. Volunteered at the fire department, put my life on the line, to go into burning buildings. For you, the people. I'm black, I'm white, I'm Latino, I am American, I am Virginia. I'm Democrat, I'm Republican, I'm independent, I am Virginia. I'm unifying the people in our state for the common good of the people in our state. No other candidate is doing what I'm doing. None. No other candidate is as censored as me either. Some are getting close, without a doubt. I am up, by, and for you. And I'm doing this for you. I don't have to be here. I didn't have to go in that burning house. I didn't have to jump in the water. I didn't have to sign up for the military. I volunteered for you.
I've spent 30 years of my life going after socialists and communists and other threats that have gone against the United States. I've served 30 years in the Army, establishing law and order in countries throughout the world. I've been to about 60 of them. I've seen what it's like. I've seen models that work, those that don't work, and everything in between. And I'm the only candidate that's also served President Donald Trump establishing defense policy for half of this world. I know how to lead. I know how to manage budgets. I know how to get things done. I'm also not a politician, as we've all established, and our conservative credentials are the same, but my life story is definitely different, and I can relate to anybody from down at the bottom of the totem pole to the top. I can deal with everything in between, and I can relate to those that understand what it is to have to work and those that have to lead. Thank you.
Friends, there have been 3 polls, and I am leading by double digits in all of the polls. Why is that? Because I adopted a winning strategy of starting campaigning over a year ago. I have already covered the entire state of Virginia once, and I'm going back for a second round. I am a female, obviously. We need the women vote, right? We also need suburban women, and I am one. I can win that demographic. Friends, I've already proven I can run and win. I have won a competitive Senate district twice. I have proven that I can win. Friends, I have raised, as of the last campaign finance report, more than any other candidate, including the former Speaker of the House. Not $1 was PAC money, not $1 was money from lobbyists. And I would tell you that I have the largest social media presence. And that new type of strategy is what is going to help us to win Northern Virginia and every other part of Virginia. And together we will win Virginia back. Thank you.
The first time I heard about the Tea Party was because of the fact y'all filed so many FOIA requests, I couldn't believe it. You know, it's almost tied with me. And realistically, I plan on making sure that we know how the money's being spent. No more government being done in the dark. with me. So I'm getting rid of all those exemptions, as many as possible, and no more civil forfeiture without due process of law. No, that means basically no red flag laws, unless you have due process of law and you see your judge, period. But the fact of the matter is, the best reason why I should become the nominee. Most polls that came out there, you would have never heard about me unless you saw that 5%, 1% below Kirk Cox. I didn't have no special money. I don't look like a politician. That's probably why. I don't talk like one. I don't act like one. I'm proud to be me. I'm proud to be Republican. I'm proud to fight for my country, and I ain't gonna change for nobody. Thank you.
You okay?
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you've seen tonight, I'm a conservative outsider. I'm a man of faith. I'm a successful business leader, and I'm a Republican who can win. But over the course of the last month, there's been ads run against me, accusing me of things. I want to directly address those right now. I want to address those right now. First, on China. I've done business in China. I have beat the Chinese. Who do you want leading Virginia? Somebody who understands that the Chinese are actually trying to take over the world and has actually beat them? Someone who President Trump stood up and thanked personally. Glenn Youngkin of the Carlyle Group, a great group, for helping him in the trade deal to get a better deal with China. Who do you want leading that? Do you want the JV or do you want the varsity?
Varsity.
My charitable giving and Suzanne's charitable giving has gone to Republicans, only to Republicans. We have backed dozens and dozens of Republicans and they have won. We've backed Christian organizations all over the world, all over this great country, and all over this great Commonwealth. No, these are lies. And the person behind them should be ashamed. And we all know who it is, Pete. We know who it is. We all know who it is. Pete, you deserve to give all these people an apology. It's as if we are behaving like those Democrat prosecutors in the Trump impeachment trial. We're going to take little snippets and make stuff up. We're going to take little snippets and make stuff up. And this is not right. This is not the way I would run my campaign. This is not the way Republicans need to come together and win. Ladies and gentlemen, I am a conservative outsider. I'm a Virginian. I'm a man of faith. I believe in the truth. I can win. I ask you to join me in this race, that we can in fact take back our beloved Commonwealth and turn it into the best state in America to live and work and raise a family. Thank you very much.
If I ever hit you, you will know.
We all know, Pete. We all know. You know what? Just stop. Everybody stop.
Fantastic. So
These are all quality people, and I don't want to hear any more of that trash. We're here with all quality candidates.
we're here in a church, ma'am.
That's right.
So let's all keep it kind. Thank you. So phase 3, we're going to go ahead and take questions from the audience. Now, let me tell you something real quick about this. If you have a question, listen closely. You ask your question, and who are you asking it to? One candidate or all candidates? But I'm warning you right now, if you're with a campaign and you come up here and ask some loaded question, I'll throw you out, or I'll tell the candidates not to answer it. Don't try it. Yes, sir. Oh, we got a question. All right, we're going to have our member come up here. Our membership executive chair, Charles Salzer.
My name is Charles Salzer. Thank you all for being here today. It means a lot to everybody. I'm disappointed in everybody on this stage at the moment. I haven't heard anybody talk about the theft of the presidential election, the shenanigans that went on in this state in the last election, and no one's addressing that. Now we have people voting illegal. We have voting, and I guess that's not an issue. I'd like to understand why it's not an issue.
Who's your question directed to, Charles?
Everybody.
All of them. We'll go right down the line.
Thanks, sir.
Raise of hands. How many of y'all believe that there was fraud and abuse, whether it's nickel and dime or widespread, in this past election? Look, none of us, not a single one, will be elected governor if we don't have the best and most elaborate, most extensive, and most expensive ballot integrity and electoral security operation hardwired into our campaigns. And that is what I am doing. I have Ken Cuccinelli overseeing that entire process for me. There's no one better in America that can make sure that we have the best operation to stop any steal that would ever happen. Because you know what's going to happen. And this is a cultural thing for Republicans that we need to change. We play by the rules and then pearl clutch when the other side doesn't. It is dead wrong. And we need to take it head on. And when I'm your next conservative governor, I'm going to make sure that Virginia leads again, and we are going to have the #1 laws in the nation for ballot integrity and electoral security. Florida was a national embarrassment and a global embarrassment in the year 2000. Guess what they did the very next year? They went down to Tallahassee, they fixed their laws, and we never talk about that again. We're going to have Virginia lead.
So this is one of the top priorities for us this year. Don't we know that if we do not win the governor's office, we can't change a thing? And in order to do that, we must stand up and engage. We're going to have, sadly, a 45-day election process yet again. And we're going to need all of you, plus every one of your family members and friends, to come together and serve as ballot watchers, observers. We're going to need to make sure that the custody of those ballots is actually ensured, that they're all counted correctly. We're going to need to make sure that we get engaged with registrars right now in order to make sure that those people that are registered to vote actually live here, actually are alive, and have not committed a felony. And the only way to do that is to start now, for all of us to come together right now and start working. That's why I launched the Election Integrity Task Force 2 weeks ago, and that's why Virginians across the Commonwealth have stood up and said, we believe that this is not a Republican issue, it is not a Democrat issue, it's a democracy issue. We must, in fact, reestablish independence of our Department of Elections. We must make sure that those people on the ballot rolls are alive and live here. We must make sure that we have a real ID when we vote. We must make sure that when you submit for an absentee ballot, you prove you're a citizen. When you mail it in, 2 signatures, not one, and they're validated. We must make sure that observers are present and those voting ballot machines are tested and audited. These are the things that we must do, and I will do them as your governor and reestablish our faith in our election process and its outcomes. Thank you.
First things first, we need to stop making excuses. We need to find a way to win, no matter what. But one of the major things I already came up with is to make sure there's a computer forensic audit every single day of the election cycle and even before then. We need to catch the problem as soon as it exists. And we got to stop having illegals get driver's licenses so they can vote in our elections. We should have been under a national voter ID law and also had E-Verify. We are sick and tired of other countries voting in our elections. That's also another way I call voter fraud. What we got to do is close the loopholes and make sure what happened in 2020 never happens again. And when we find it happening, make sure we are ready to attack.
To begin with, I was actually censured in the Virginia General Assembly because I stood up for our president. And I actually attended the January 6th Stop the Steal rally because I do believe the 2020 presidential election was stolen. And yes, I said it. And that's why I was censured. So, sir, I do stand up for election integrity. And in fact, in the General Assembly this year, I introduced legislation to once again require a photo ID in order to vote. Friends, the Democrats have taken the guardrails off of our elections, and they've stolen it. And everybody says, I was on CNN this morning, and they said, prove it. I said, I don't have to prove it. It's not my job. My job is to call for an investigation, and I have done that. I have done that. I have introduced legislation to put those guardrails back on. I have been a vocal, outspoken, national advocate for making sure that we have a nationwide audit, even working with Sidney Powell. I'm working with the Virginia Project. I am one of the only voices, I'm so sorry, one of the only legislators in Virginia will actually vocalize this problem. Everybody's in the fetal position. All the Republicans, I'm sorry, but this is true. The weak-kneed Republicans are in the corner afraid to say the election was stolen. Everybody but Amanda Chase, and that's why I was censured. And I am the only one standing up for election integrity.
Thank you. I've been an election monitor in 3 international elections. I know that elections are a very critical part of how we determine the validity of our institutions, and right now we're not doing so well. We used to be the bright, shining example of how you conduct elections. We're not there anymore. And the reason is because the Democrats have turned that around, and they're the ones that voted in all these horrible laws, and we need to get rid of the Democrats, and we've got to win the next election. There's very little that we can do right now other than get everybody aware of what the problem is. And we've got to get all Virginians involved in the process. We've got to get election officials. That requires going through training, registering as officials, carrying a badge, not being able to get kicked out of some room because some other Democrat comes in and says, we're here and you're not here legally. That's not going to happen anymore. Let's get many, many more election officials in every single precinct in the Commonwealth. We need election observers, and we need to get everybody involved. I think that we all agree that this is the most important thing. If the institutions no longer have validity, then we are not going to be able to be a country of rule of law. This is the embarrassing thing, is I've been in elections where you use paper ballots, and by noon, by midnight, the day of the elections, you know who won. Here we are in the United States, still we don't know who the heck won. This is crazy. We can't let that happen anymore. Thank you.
Thank you.
We know who won, by the way. Donald Trump. I'm the only candidate that's pulling Democrats. How many candidates up here had more than 100 Democrats voting for them? More than 100, verified. Yeah? Really? Okay. I'm the only candidate that's running on a bipartisan platform and term limits to get rid of the corruption. Because that is where the problem lies. Corrupt Democrats controlling the system, keeping the Republicans out, throwing in votes behind the scenes when nobody's looking, when nobody's counting, after everybody goes home, between 2 and 4 o'clock in the morning. More votes in an area than we've ever had. Percentage increases in the specific areas perfect to be able to win the state. It's not widespread corruption. It's targeted corruption. I've spoke on this on my Facebook page, probably one of the many reasons they deleted me. I actually pulled the election numbers and did it. And I'm actually going to respect you and end when the beeper goes off.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? All right, well, I saw you first, Philip, and then I saw you all over there, then I saw you. Come on up. What's your question?
Can I say something real quick?
Please.
I sponsor term limit legislation every year in the Virginia General Assembly. Every year.
Thank you all for being here today, and we definitely appreciate your time taking to speak to everyone about these various issues. I have a very poignant one that is a very specific issue as a historian I'd like to ask to everyone here. I've traveled over 40 states, and I have a lot of perspective on historical monuments. And the question I have is, in the state of Alabama, there is a law that allows the state to sue cities and towns for removing historical statues and monuments. Would any of you support such a law in the state of Virginia? Yes or no? Okay?
Yes, sir. Unanimous.
And can you explain why you would support that law?
Certainly. We can't have Stalinism in Virginia and in America. I'm a product of the College of William and Mary, and they had a Board of Visitors meeting last week, and guess what the students want to do? They want to get rid of Thomas Jefferson. So I am working with students and CRs on campus to fight that. And we are going to establish a Founding Fathers Foundation that is going to fight on every single campus all across Virginia to make sure that our Founding Fathers are intact and that my 6-year-old daughter learns about how amazing they were and their vision. So that's what we're going to do to fight.
Where does this go? Is anybody surprised this is what's happening in Richmond or in Washington today? Is anyone surprised that every name is being changed? Is anyone surprised that Dr. Seuss is being driven out of our Loudoun County schools? I was with my friend Brandon Michon the other day, who stood up for students and families in Loudoun County schools, and he basically said, Glenn, we have to draw a line somewhere, and I thanked him for doing it. We must stand up. Ladies and gentlemen, the only way we're going to stop this craziness is we're going to elect a governor who can stand strong. I will not back down. I will stand strong. Thank you for this good question. Ladies and gentlemen, we must win in November, and I can do it. Thank you.
Every single statue that was taken down going to be put right back up, period. When I stood at the Lee statue and I talked to BLM, Antifa, and the rest, I said, if you go after their history, what's going to stop them from coming after yours? I said, there's no such thing as black history, white history, and all this other stuff. It's American history. That's exactly what I protect, and that's exactly what I want to do for America and Virginia. We have to make sure it's clear. You don't touch our history. You don't change the names of our school, because that's where we grew up, and that's why we're so proud to be in America, because we protect it.
So I am one of the only Virginia senators that would actually get up and speak in defense of protecting our history. Friends, we must learn from our history. We must not erase it. We must, absolutely. And I believe that Mayor Stoney and Governor Northam should pay to put those monuments right back up. And then I believe that we need to correct the ills of history and put representatives, Booker T. Washington, many other members of our community up as well. But we should not be taking down statues. And I've spoken on this consistently on the floor of it's American history. It is American history. It's not white history. It's not black history. And some of my comments that I have made were to make people think. Thank you.
You know, people are literally dying to come to this country. Just look at what's happening on the border. There's a reason for it, because this is the cradle of the American experiment, and history is a part of it. History is what defines us, and history is our heritage, and history is what we are in the process of destroying. Read 1984. If you don't want to read the book, go watch the movie. It doesn't have a happy ending. That's where we're headed. This is what happens when you have socialists take over your Commonwealth's government, and that's what we've got right now, and this is where they're experimenting on all of these bad ideas. Don't let it happen. We all have to stand up. Thank you.
All history matters. part of the problem we're having is there's miscommunication between these communities calling for these statues coming down. A lot of the people I spoke to at the Lee Monument, they were using the statues as a reason to rise their voice up, to be heard for the social, economic issues in their communities. They didn't really want the statues down. They just wanted some context added to the statues. They wanted to be educated on why they were there. And that takes us back to the 1776 education initiative that Trump put out. We need to do that here too.
Next question. I know we had two over there, and then go ahead, ma'am.
I want to thank everyone for coming out today. Nick, thank you for setting this up. I want to remind people, all of these candidates are wonderful candidates. We need to be thankful that we have such an incredible field before us. That said, I do have a question, two questions. One is for Mr. Youngkin in particular, and then the second question will be for everyone. First off, Mr. Youngkin, I want you to please expand on the flyer that came about that put ties to you, to the Clintons, with a long history. The secondary question is, what is your plan for our educational system to make sure that we're teaching what's proper, what guidelines that you expect to put in place for our children with respect to the differences in color and the differences in sex?
Thank you for your question. Candidates, we're going to do 15 seconds each because we have to, and I got to make it quick. We want to give you guys time to talk to everyone outside.
This one's easy. It's not true. The company I worked for before I was ever in a position to say no, hired many politicians to give speeches, one of which was the Clintons. This is another one of those moves in order to try to make things seem like they're not. Just like the Democratic prosecutors did for President Trump. In his impeachment trial, they took snippets of things and made it look like it wasn't, and it took somebody to stand up and say, isn't this ridiculous? And that's what's happened here, because this is ridiculous. Thank you.
The second question is for everyone. Am I not correct?
Yes, second question for everybody.
Certainly. To that question, why are we even talking about this now? We're in a global pandemic, and the ridiculous policies that the left is pushing at us to try to have transgender bathrooms in our schools. And I missed my daughter's lacrosse practice today, first time ever. And guess what? There is no way I'm going to come home to her 3 years from now and have to see her crying because she got cut from the team or isn't even starting because someone 2 weeks ago used to be a dude. I'm sorry, not happening on my watch.
Well, I would say break. Sex ed, we need to have an opt-out situation here where, one, the parents aren't supposed to teach the birds and the bees, not a teacher who could care less about them and trying to practice abortion or whatever. So no, it needs to be an opt-out and start putting in college classes or home ed, not having the sex ed in schools at all.
So we homeschooled for a reason. We homeschooled because we're sick and tired of the leftist indoctrination that's going on in our elementary schools, our middle schools, our high schools, our colleges, our universities, funded by our taxpayer money, no more. Not under a Chase administration.
Do we want to see the destruction of women's rights? Do we want to have your 7-year-old daughter go into a bathroom with an 18-year-old man? That can't happen, but that is what's happening. So we all need to stand up and say no, and as soon as I'm governor, that's turning around. But we've got to win first. Cannot let this happen.
I will stomp the holy water out of it. It's wrong. A child's brain does not fully develop until they're even in their 20s. How can they make the conscious decision to whether or not they're transgender or not? The science says no.
Sir, you have a question? And then you.
Good afternoon, I'm Tim Perry. Drove up here from Midlothian, Virginia today. And so I'm a sales and marketing guy, and my interest is around messaging, handling objections, how you present ideas, and also how you respond in the general electorate. It's kind of a two-phase thing. You guys check all the boxes with everyone here, most likely. But as one of you earns a nomination, you'll move into the general election. I feel like one of the things that will be discussed that you'll have to respond to are the issues surrounding the legalization of marijuana, the decriminalization of marijuana. So I would be interested from a recreational perspective. I'm not a marijuana guy. I just want to know, I know that will be out there and something that has to be addressed by a Republican candidate. So I'm just interested in hearing from you guys about that.
Sure, simple answer, no. And why are we talking about pot and whether balloons or styrofoam should be banned in the General Assembly? This is ridiculous. Our schools are closed, our economy is in the tank, and your rights have been systematically stripped away from you. We're going to focus on the main thing and restore your rights.
Sadly, I actually think that somehow or another between now and when the Commonwealth elects me governor, marijuana will be legalized. And if I was sitting with a group of kids and I would say to them, I've never met anybody who's a routine user of marijuana who's successful, so don't use it. But I think we're going to have to deal with this. And I think we're going to have to deal with it, and it's going to be challenging. Do not count on the revenue from legalized marijuana to amount to anything. It hasn't worked in Colorado, it hasn't worked in California, it hasn't worked in Oregon. This has been a false advertisement. This has been marketed falsely. But unfortunately, we're going to have to deal with it.
I'm all for marijuana, 100%. 300 million in new revenue, and we want to need to close the hole with COVID. I'd rather put it towards mental health services so we are no longer locking up drug addicts, instead giving them treatment. We spend $60,000 a year for drug addicts when we could easily be spending $5,000 to make sure that they recover. That's exactly why I want marijuana legalized. 100%.
Not just no, but hell no. So I was in the Virginia General Assembly on the floor of the Senate till 10:30 last night, speaking against this, voting against the legalization of marijuana, which this Democrat majority has passed. It goes into effect 2024 as Virginia's next governor. I will do everything in my power. I will veto this. I will use an executive order, whatever I need to do to make sure that we don't legalize marijuana here in Virginia. I think it's wrong, and the Democrats have never been able to answer my question. Show me the test scores showing where our students' education improves because marijuana has been in our schools.
The short answer is no on marijuana, and the reason is because now, if you look at the type of marijuana that's being sold, the THC levels are significantly higher, in some cases much more it's a drug that's got the same power as cocaine in some cases, and that's just going to cause all sorts of additional health issues that we haven't even thought about, and we need to regulate that.
The answer is yes. I've done the research. Marijuana has been used for medicine dated all the way back to ancient times in Egypt. Every person in this room has an endocannabinoid system in their body. Every one. A lot of the information you've gotten has been one-sided. Go to the NIH, National Institute for Health. Do the research on marijuana. See how it's helped kids with epilepsy cure cancer, help veterans get off of 45, 50 pills a day, to consumption once a night at night, and be whole again.
All right, thank you, candidates. Our final question from my friend Leroy Preston Sleinhofer, longtime member.
So, I retired from ICE in 2015. Since then, I started a nonprofit called Civil Defense Virginia because I believe in preparedness, because I had the golden ticket to a secret location up in the mountains when I worked for ICE Intelligence. So, leads me to my question. I'm also the Eastern Director for the EMP Task Force on National and Homeland Security. Texas, a couple weeks ago, was 4.5 minutes away from total grid shutdown. That's 1/3 of our power grid. That would have put pressure on the entire grid, which could have caused a collapse of our entire grid. 4.5 minutes, think about that. And I want your commitment as governor, should any of you reach that seat, because this Tea Party will dog you if you don't. I want you to commit that you will have representatives from nonprofits come in and help you with the formulation of policy to make our grid in Virginia safe, secure, and reliable, because the power companies aren't doing it. We've got 2,000 power companies around the states. They're not doing it because they're not required to. It's a fiasco. We don't have time to get into it. But each one of you, go down the line. Yes, yes, no, whatever.
Yes, we have amazing resources in Virginia. We need to tap them all.
Yes, we need all of the above in our energy policy. Today, we have an energy policy that will fail Virginia. When Virginia grows like I think it should grow, like I will lead it to grow, the energy policy we have cannot stay with us. We need all of the above. We need an electrical grid that is stable, and we absolutely have to change direction. We must change direction from the clean energy plan that was passed. We must change direction because it is not doable, affordable, or good for Virginia. Thank you.
Absolutely, yes, but Republicans need to hammer Biden. This is Biden's Katrina that he's talking about right now. People died, and his response was almost a week later. We need to make sure we hammer that home directly. Thank you.
Yes, and I've actually spoken against these clean energy policies. Listen, the push is to get away from coal. I support coal wholeheartedly. We need efficient, reliable. You cannot store windmill energy. I'm an expert on this, and I've worked with Dominion Energy, and I understand how this works. What happened to Texas will never happen to Virginia if I'm the next governor.
The Clean Energy Act is the Green New Deal for Virginia. We gotta stop it. That's for beginners. The next thing is you've got to have a wide variety of different energy sources. Nuclear is something that's sitting right now without the possibility of renewal. We've got to get that. We've got to get all types of energy, but we know that windmills and solar panels are not going to do the trick, and we just saw it in Texas, so let's not do that.
Yes. Directly answer your question, yes. I have family that are coal miners. I know how important it is to southwestern Virginia, okay? I also understand that we've got portions of Virginia still without power today from the ice storm 2 weeks ago. I was down there yesterday handing out food and water, so I understand the importance of securing our electrical grid. Thank you.
All right, let's have a round of applause for these candidates. Come on, man. Stand up. They deserve it. Come on. It is not easy being a candidate. Trust me, I know. Okay, so candidates, I would suggest that you